Okay, so we are live at the moment. I think we're just we'll wait for 5 minutes for people to join in, and then from there we can take it away.
Someone is trying to call me. I have to cut them off.
So we are, like I said, we are currently live. Uh, we just, yeah, someone is also trying to call me. Back here.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Lion Heart of Africa virtual bi-monthly conversation. My name is Stanley Masimba Zliwayo, and I will be your moderator today. I am so happy that you could all join us this evening. Introducing the Lion Heart of Africa Men's Initiative. Our mission is to promote open discussions about wellness, mental health, and personal growth. We aim to create a supportive environment where men can share their experiences, learn from one another, but most importantly, grow together. Join us in this journey towards better health and connection. Today, we are privileged to hear from two esteemed speakers, Mr. Gilbert Gwaze of Earlbat Microfinance based in Harare, and Eddie Mihigo of Mebala Youth Studios, a Botswana-based NGO dedicated to youth-focused community initiatives. Let me start by outlining the flow of conversation today. The speakers will provide their insights, and we encourage you to submit your questions through the chat feature on the platform that you're using. We will gather these questions and address them at the end of the discussion. We want this session to be dynamic, interactive, so please feel free to take part. Your questions, thoughts, and insights are what enriches this initiative. Now, without further delay, let us jump into our discussion. Gilbert, can you please tell us who is Gilbert Gwaze, and can you please describe the journey to starting Earlbat Microfinance?
Thank you so much, Stanley. Thank you. It's my pleasure joining you guys. Gilbert Gwaze is a CEO and the brains behind Earlbat Microfinance. So I will just give you a brief history. I'll try to shorten it as much as I can. But in 2004, right? In 2008, rather, I was employed with then Stanbic Bank as a back office clerk. Now, that was my first initial employment, having a science background after studying maths, physics, and chemistry in high school. I decided to do a career switch into commercials. Then I started studying CIS. Now, that's what got me qualified to be employed with Stanbic Bank in during the hyperinflationary period because of their increased volumes of transactions. Back then, they wanted back office clerks so that we could process all the paperwork that was coming in time for their customers to be served on time. So I didn't last that long. Unfortunately, it was a short stay because we lost our contracts due to some malpractices we got involved in. It was a period where people were buying US dollars on the black market, and yeah, I lost my job due to that situation. Fast forward, I then landed myself as a brand ambassador for EcoCash when they started in 2014 August. So from there, I spent most of my time onboarding clients for EcoCash on the streets of Harare. That's when I was interacting most of my time with the vendor community on the streets. So now, when vendors are fighting with the local council, um, they would have their stuff taken and they would constantly be in a position where they needed quick cash to restock. That's how I came in handy, and it sparked an idea that I could lend these vendors money and they can repay because at least I could monitor them. So fast forward, the idea was birthed on the streets of Harare by giving short on time loans to the vendor community. So after thinking about it seriously, I had a brother friend of mine who had a microfinance that he had registered way back when I was working for Stanbic. That was a 10-year period in between me being employed with Stanbic and him registering his own microfinance, culminating to me wanting to operate as a registered institution because I could see the need into the market. So he helped me with co-signing my product. It was called Giza Credit, where customers would, or where the vendors would borrow money and use their smartphones as a form of collateral, because collateral back then, was of key importance. So it has grown from holding phones to holding laptops to fridges to household items. Now we are now focused on motor vehicles as a form of collateral. Successfully, we registered our own microfinance through the help of Mr. Tichaona Mafemba of Moen Credit to register Earlbat Microfinance as a registered institution. That was in 2021. So it's been 4 years now that we've been operating as Earlbat Microfinance. Let's hope that answers your question, Stanley.
It does, absolutely. Thank you for such wonderful insights into your journey from humble beginnings, from corporate banking all the way to formal microfinance to other people in the city. Eddie, please, can you describe to us about Mebala Youth Studios and your work that you're doing with the NGO with the youth in Botswana?
Yes. So I have I'm a degree holder in environmental health, and I worked in the corporate sector for a few years until right around 2013. Then I went into I had an internet cafe business for 2 years, which I then let go of. Traveled a bit, came back to Botswana in 2019 after a 2 year stint in Kenya. And my return here, my time in Kenya really opened my eyes as to what could be possible, especially in the realm of creativity and collaboration. So when I came back, I started dabbling into that, and through that, I started working at a school called the Dow Academy. Started working there in 2020 as almost like a consultant, pretty much like an external consultant. And my job was to come up with a program that would appeal to students, primary school students primarily, and to their parents as well. So I came up with a computer rebuilding program, which we ran successfully for a number of years. And that also really the lessons from the time I spent at the Dow Academy taught me about the fact that sometimes when we charge people for things, we also exclude them because we want to give them the thing, we want them to pay a little bit of money, but you'll find that most times the people who really want that service can't afford to pay for it at all. And that's how I started thinking about how I could use my time and my resources and my brain to allow some of these people who don't have the means but really want to get something done, how we could get things going with them. So I partnered with Mebala Youth Studios again, initially as an external consultant, and eventually I went in there and I was brought in a more permanent role to kind of help put together some creative programs. And that's pretty much what I've been doing since. In 2024, we had a very nice podcast that we put together. It was a collaboration with the French Embassy, and our goal was to raise women's voices through through interviews. And last year, we had a second season of the podcast, which is still running. And we opted to use that to also let some young people to volunteer for us, learn about how to capture content using cell phones, learn about how to do outreach, how to do interviews, and up to basic editing. So that was part of my goal to say, okay, again, with the resources that we have, we can use that to empower young people for them to empower themselves in the near future. And some of the plans that we have for this year one of the plans that we have for this year is to open an online teleradio station, because that's one of the things that we innovated at the school where I worked, and it was an amazing success with the students. So we want to use the center to open one for out of school youth and young people who may not have the means but have the will and have the passion. And it's something that we're going to run through YouTube using some of the resources that we're actually using now to stream this conversation. So yeah, that's kind of my journey in a few minutes.
Thank you for such wonderful insights, and it's great to see that you're doing such awesome work with the youth. And
Yeah.
we we keep you in our prayers and everything that you're doing. Gilbert, could you please help us understand financial resilience? What does financial resilience mean to you, and why is it crucial for individuals and families?
Thank you so much for your question, Stanley. My understanding of financial resilience is your ability to just withstand external turbulent financial conditions. Uh, in my business, there's a lot of turbulence. And in my environment, just like any other economic environment, there's a lot of turbulence. There are things that we do not have control over as an organization, just like policy. We in as much as we are a small contributor to what then the ultimate policy becomes, we don't have the full control of how policy is going to be announced and when it is going to be announced and its adverse effects on our business. So I'll give you a short story of a situation in Zimbabwe that happened in 2000. I think it was in 2002, towards the year end. There was a policy announcement that all microfinance or financial services industry should stop lending. Whatever lending activities immediately had to stop. And you can imagine, if your core business is lending, what happens to the customers who they have borrowed? Are they going to be paying on time? So that creates a lot of uncertainty. But how we managed to get over that hump was that our strategy has always been to create meaningful relationships with our customers. And so we had to go back to our bosses, which is our customers, to try and encourage them as much as we could to support us in the trying times, and we managed to sail through. So financial resilience comes with a lot of creativity and a lot of mental toughness, because things don't stop coming and you just have to keep moving. I personally view challenges uh, of my external environment as fuel to keep me moving. That's good friction for me. And I, ever since I framed those challenges like that, it seems like I always find a solution to every problem and challenge that comes in each and every day. Thank you so
You
much.
spoke about you spoke about financial resilience, and I was just going to ask you, what common obstacles do men face when trying to build financial resilience?
What common challenges that men usually face is okay. Most of the challenges that people face is all mindset. They, we haven't been. There's no subject for money in a lot of our educational system, from primary to secondary to college. The subject on money is not out there to teach a lot of men on how to make decisions about money. So you find a lot of people, you know, facing different challenges in terms of decision making. Some are scared because of lack of information, and some don't even study to equip themselves with the tools that they need to face those challenging times. So I highly recommend, at the end of the day, that studying money, studying finances, and getting a grip of understanding, which is what part of what we try to do at Earlbat Microfinance. Everyone who comes into interaction with me, I try to understand the basis of why they are borrowing, their reasons for borrowing, and if it is very necessary for them to be borrowing, because you know it's not always the best solution for someone to come and borrow money. And we try to make it very plain and clear to them if there are any other options that they can explore, to explore those, instead of us engaging, and then at the end of the day they might end up defaulting and then worsen their situation further. So yeah, I hope I'm making sense there, Stanley.
You are. Thank you. Eddie, just to ask, what do you think? How do you feel societal expectations and stigma? Um, how does it affect men's financial decisions?
Well, it definitely does, and that's part of the reason why I have a talk that I did a couple of years ago, which I could not do any longer because of the nature of that talk, and it was titled "I Hate Money." And everywhere I went, of course, whenever I said that, people would really recoil and say, "How can you hate money? Money is the answer to all of our problems. Money makes the world go round." And I had to break it down to say, well, it's not necessarily money that I hate. It's what money does to us. It's the fact that money takes over all conversations. Money turns us into the most wicked people on the planet. Money will turn husband against wife, brother against sister, father against son, mother against daughter. So there's definitely something there. And I think a lot of time a lot of times, whether it's parents, whether it's children, whether it's colleagues or business owners, we approach our relationship with money almost inside out. You know, you want to make money instead of wanting to have the money work for you, you know, and you want to chase money instead of working really hard to a point where now people are chasing you with money because they want your services. So I think that's how I feel on that one. I really feel that like this conversation is very important because we have to look at even in the realm of what Mr. Gilbert is in, to say microfinancing. Is it just about getting the money, or is it about understanding what that money can actually do for you in terms of your business and your growth? Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, I guess this brings to the fore managing debts, having the money, making it work for you, borrowing. Gilbert, two-pronged question, maybe some advice you would give men who are struggling with debt, and also good and bad debts. How do you differentiate between the two?
Thank you so much, Stanley. My view, um, with guys who struggle with money, for starters, how I view the easiest way to earn money, because there is the earning side and there is the spending side of money. So the earning side has got a lot going on. You can either earn money through looking for employment, or you can be self-employed, a business owner of sorts. Those are the three ways that I know. But in all those three things, the underlying aspect that every man should be able to do is to sell something. The quickest way to get yourself to some money which is not borrowed is to find a product or a service that you can sell. If your sales skills are poor, or your communication skills are poor, then how are you going to be able to convince anyone to either buy your product or to buy your services? So I usually encourage my customers who come to borrow and try to vet if they've got good sales skills. So I usually pick the winners from those guys who can sell better, and try to encourage those who are losing to start the learning the skill of selling. It's a skill. It's not something that you're born with. Communication, just like any other skill, you're going to have to perfect it, to work on it, so that you're a good communicator. I grew to be a good communicator from my experience onboarding clients or for EcoCash way back in those days, because I was talking to strangers and I was trying to convince them to onboard for the product that Strive had introduced to the nation. It still stands today. A lot of people still find it useful. So our job was to convince and to communicate to those people about the whole product, which I still do to this day with Earlbat Microfinance. The product is all about trying to help people bridge finance their situations. Delays in payment do come most often to people who are in business. And my primary objective is to make sure that whenever there is a need for bridge financing, Earlbat Microfinance bridges that gap. So yeah, man. People need to know when they borrow that borrowed funds come with interest components. So my usual education to every customer that walks in through our doors is to get them to understand that this money is not free money. It's coming at a cost. And every debt that you're going to be borrowing will increase your ability to work even harder to get yourself out of that hole. So we usually, have a conversation to see if someone is winning or is losing. And we usually prefer to deal with the winners, because those are the ones that have harnessed the habit of digging themselves out of situations. The best way that I've seen of how to manage debt is to start off by addressing every 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 debt that you owe, and just to be upfront and honest, to communicate with every creditor that you own, and to talk to them either in writing or verbally, or to give them a call. The best way is not to avoid any form of debt. If you happen to fall in debt, or if you happen to borrow and things are not going your way, it's always good to communicate. So, as you can see, it all comes back to your ability to communicate and to sell yourself, so that you buy yourself more time, so that you don't end up being a loser. So that's my tip for managing debt. Always communicate with your lender, and always try to address and come up with a payment plan on all the situations of debt.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Now, having been in a position where one is earning and is spending in business, in personal finances, perhaps it brings to light that there is budgeting and saving that needs to happen at the end of the day. And I would like to ask, people have, especially men, have responsibilities, immediate financial pressures, school fees, other bills. What effective budgeting techniques do you recommend to budgeting and saving for people that are earning money?
All right. So I'm not a huge fan of budgeting, because what budgeting does psychologically is more or less like you're putting a ceiling on your earnings or on your earning ability. Then you are making all the decisions with a ceiling above your head on your finances. I usually like to encourage people to sell their way out of any situation that they're in, which needs money. If you teach yourself to sell, if you teach yourself the skill to communicate, I believe there is no limit to the amount of money that you can earn as an individual, which will cover all the need to live. Saving, yes, I highly um I highly encourage people to save. It's a very good skill, and it's a very good habit for people to save. Usually my go-to is every 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 dollar from a $10 that you're going to earn needs to go to be saved for a rainy day. I'm a strong believer in that. And from your savings, that's when you start making decisions of investing, because some people call investing, yet it's not investing. You know, every investment has got to come up with an ROI. Every investment has got to have a return on investment, and it's always good to learn these financial terms and to understand their definitions, which goes back to studying, man. Uh, People should study different ways of saving. Budgeting, I'm not a huge fan. Just sell your soul out. Don't be shy. Whatever product you pick on that resonates with you, that you can communicate clearly, and people can resonate, that that people that really need your help with the product or service, I believe it can be a greatest lifesaver and can get you really ahead of time in terms of your bills and all that. But saving, I'm a huge fan of that. And I do a little bit of saving myself.
So, you have earned money, you have saved money. Um, you spoke about investment. Now, I was going to ask, how can we educate men and prepare them for long-term financial goals, investments, and looking forward to retirement as people grow older in time? Eddie, what are your thoughts? I see you are smiling there.
Yeah, I wanted to say, hey, we're talking about retirement already. Some of us just got here.
It's early days, but remember, we're talking about saving, and then part of that investment has got to be put somewhere for a rainy day.
Because I was gonna add that, I love what Mr. Gilbert is saying about the fact that you have to figure out how to get yourself out of situations. You have to figure out how to make money every day. I remember when I was running my internet cafe, and there's days where I would literally walk out of the shop with an equivalent of $5, right? And then I'd get a call from home to say, hey, we've just realized that we've run out of bread. You see, and that $5, you remove $1 and a half, you can go buy bread and take home. You see, and that taught me that, most times we chase the big scores, the big bags, you know when the reality of the situation is those small incremental wins that make you money. Even Bill Gates didn't start by being paid dividends of millions every year. Even those dividends, they're accrued. It's a accruance of the small shares that all of these guys have that make the company gain value, isn't it? So I do agree that, first of all, we need to learn how to sell ourselves, and I think it segues into your question of how do we then invest. And I always say the first thing that you invest in is yourself. You invest in a new skill. You invest in knowledge that most people don't have. You invest in communication, like how do you speak to people, how do you keep people connected to you even when you are far away from them, so that you don't always have to call them every 5 minutes to remind you of what you can do for them. When they have a problem, the first person they think about is you. How do you make yourself indispensable, to a point where a solution cannot be found without your input. So I think those are the first things that we invest in, and I think after that, then we can start thinking about retirement and saving up for a rainy day. But yeah, I think that's what I wanted to add really quickly.
Gilbert, we'll forget about retirement, like Eddie said, but how do you prepare men for long-term financial goals outside of retirement? You know, what do
All
we
right,
do?
my take on that is eh, develop good communication skills, man. It's all in communication and study. By study, I mean get your hands onto sales books, watch sales YouTube videos, and yeah, improve your English, improve the way you talk to people, improve the way you communicate with people. I wasn't a good and avid communicator myself. If I tell you I couldn't read the paragraph of a part of a comprehension that I would have written in class. I would shiver, I would sweat, I would have serious stage fright. But through study and hanging around people who like reading books and gaining my confidence to read for myself and to read for my family, for my kid and my wife, I pulled myself out of those problems, man, and just placing myself in uncomfortable situations where in the middle of Harare I had to be talking to strangers from nowhere, starting conversations from nowhere to onboard clients. I mean, communication really did it for me, and my best bet is on learning how to communicate and to really educate yourself in knowledge of self, just understanding how you tick as an individual, and just have a general understanding of how things work, because I see a lot of people struggle. They enjoy playing the blame game. Either they are blaming politics, or they're blaming their background, or they're blaming an abusive situation that happened when they were a kid. Yeah, while least I don't want to discount how that might affect someone as an adult, but that really doesn't have any bearing to your evolved you if you really work on yourself. So knowledge of self and teaching yourself the skills of communicating are my two go-to solutions for people to really, master financial literacy. Yeah.
So we have a question from the chat. The comments are quick fast, so I think it's best if we take the questions as they come in and when they come in. So I'll
Okay.
just put the question up and then I'll read it as well. Nyanga Kaiwani Lodge is asking, should people travel and have other fun spending when things are not where they want them to be financially? That's a good question. Should I repeat the question or can you see it?
Right. Okay. Can you repeat the question? Should people travel and have other fun spending when things are not where they want them to be financially? I think
Yeah.
luxuries come right at the end, man. First get your money before you start traveling. Whose money are you spending when you're up in Morocco there, having cocktails at a beach? It costs money. And whose money are you spending? Are you spending your money or you're spending someone else's money? So my best answer there is don't even think of that trip. Don't even get that passport up until you know how to make money. That's as blunt as I can be. Why would someone travel and take a trip to a non-productive activity, yet they haven't mastered a productive activity of selling and making some money? It's more or less like living your life backwards. You know, uh, yeah. So no traveling. Only travel when you have made enough money to travel and to take care of yourself.
I have a small different perspective. I do agree that you don't live beyond your means, right? That is, if you know you are going to borrow money to go on a trip, that's a waste. But
Of
I do
course.
believe, and there's one of my landlords, the landlord I started with when I opened my internet cafe. She told me that, listen, Eddie, when you make your money, always divide it into three. One third you put away. The second third you reinvest, and the third you make sure you use it completely to have some sort of fun. You must derive some form of pleasure from that third of your money. So I think it really opened my eyes to two things. One, we tend to take the entire pot, even when like you've made a good profit. You're like, okay, after all expenses, I've got this ton of money. You want to blow this entire pot at one goal because you can and you're secure. But from her advice, I learned that even that profit, you can divide it into three. You don't have to spend all of it all at once. But also, if that one third will get you a Coke that will make you smile, and you know that that Coke that you bought it and you don't owe anyone anything, then you should do that. Next week, it might be a Coke and a pie, right? Next month, it might be you taking your staff out, your entire staff out for a meal, right? And maybe at the end of the year, you might give each one of these guys a 13th check, and you'll be able to take yourself out on a trip. But I think doing it like the same way you said, Gilbert, that we have to learn how to make money every day from every situation. I also think the pleasure we derive from spending has to start from small amounts. That way, we're always under that ceiling that you spoke about. You know, you're not spending beyond your means, and you're always comfortable regardless of the amount that you're spending, whatever time you're spending it for pleasure, that is.
I guess it comes down to discipline as well. Where you are earning, you begin to, where one starts to earn, and they are managing whatever debt that has come to to them through budgeting, saving, and you've done your investments, Eddie, for retirement. Then there is obviously an opportunity for you to start spending on self. Um, in small ways, incrementally, depending on your income as well, how much you're earning. Then you should be able to do that once you are surely out of debt and not earning anything. Which brings us again to the next important um, thought, where you have emergencies that come in. You know, you need to have an emergency fund. Um, a percentage of whatever you are saving has to go into some emergency fund, ideally. Um, Gilbert, what sort of percentages are we talking about, and how can we go about um, building such emergency funds outside of our expenditure for self and for reinvestment into business and personal? What are your thoughts?
All right. So when it comes to emergency funds, I read a book from another author. I might have forgotten the name, that suggested that you should have at least 6 months of your monthly expenditure tucked away for a rainy day. What that comes to from the Bible is just like what Eddie was trying to communicate with the third and the third principle, is that a third is for yours to keep. If you have made the money, yes, you can segment it in the third format, because you need to reward yourself. You need the energy for your next kill. You need to rejuvenate. You need to encourage yourself. I mean, it's all about self-care and stuff like that. But in as far as emergency funds are concerned, I usually go for 6 months savings for a rainy day, just in case the environment changes for the worse and things don't go all the way south. One third is a safe bet. For every dollar you earn, put a third towards that emergency fund. That's my take.
So we have a question before we continue. The question is, I'll just put it up on the screen first. Uh, oh well, it's for Gilbert. Of course, do you help with managing the financial plan, which is to pay back the microfinance assistance?
Yes, we do. Usually, it's a very involving process because you'd like to study someone's earning patterns and really try to find a way where our loan and their earning patterns are going to merge. So sometimes we give advice for them to not borrow now, but to borrow later when the need arises, when there's a real need, which then coincide with their earning patterns so that they will be able to repay and avoid default. So yes, we do help people manage with their financial plans. If they don't have any, we help them establish one. Um, it all comes back to what one is doing for a living so that they earn money. So people earn money in different ways. People are selling services, some are entrepreneurs, some are dealers, hustlers, some are willing dealing. So people come in all sorts of fashions in when it comes to earning money. But yeah, we always try to help them come up with a financial plan such that they remain winners. The key there is they should be winning and not losing, because once a winner is going to always be a winner. They will cultivate the culture of winning, and those who be losing, because they will tell you a whole lot of stories of how they've lost this and lost that, and now they are on you to lose again. you know Eh, so it's always good to interrogate. We interrogate our customers financial plans and try to better them and give advice the best way we can. So yes is the answer.
So I have a question as well, on the the emergency fund. Is it advisable to maybe have a credit card for that, and maybe have some form of discipline in ensuring that that card is only used when an emergency arises? Is that something that you would advise, or is, because I mean, like I said, not everybody is liquid enough, for example, to have 6 months worth of savings, or if say I'm starting now and in month three I have an emergency. So would it be advisable to have like a line of credit that you can access in case there's an emergency, and maybe you are disciplined enough to pay it back within the stipulated period?
Yeah, I mean, I would say yes and say no at the same time. It all depends uh what you know what type of a life you are living. Sometimes people don't really need um, to access credit as such. They just need to change a certain habit of theirs such that they can fix their financial situations. However, if you are in business and your business has got fluctuations that require funding, emergency funding, yes, there might be a need for someone to have a financing partner who is reliable, like ourselves, Earlbat Microfinance. That's our business, to help those who are in business and who have got fluctuating situations which require funding um, for at one point or the other.
Thank you for that. And, as men, we don't live in isolation. We live within communities and we have support from brothers, uncles, aunts, and other networks within our communities. Now, Gilbert, can you please discuss the role or what sort of mentorship that you see as achieving financial resilience within the communities and our support groups?
Sorry, repeat that question again.
I was asking about mentorship. Can you discuss the role of mentorship in achieving financial resilience within for oneself, maybe within a support group or community based? What sort of supportive networks can one look forward to for mentorship?
I understand. I'm a very big believer in mentorship, because what can take you 10 years to get, a mentor can take a couple of minutes. Either you are at a drinking session somewhere, just associate with people. No, I mean, someone has got to just master and just be aware of the environments and the people whom they hang around. If you are hanging around 10 broke people, you're going to be the 11th. And you are supposed to choose your environments wisely so that you are mentored through social networking, and you pick on conversations and habits that, because in a social setting, there's no filter. Everyone is a mentor. And I'm a mentee to some people that I choose to spend my time with and to pick their brains when they are relaxed, when they are not in their offices doing their regular. So I'm a very big believer that you should really study your environment and choose the environments in which you are going to be hanging out when you go out, and choose your friends wisely and choose your associates wisely, because they contribute immensely to the way you think about money, the way you spend money, the way you know your whole idea of money and resilience comes from that circle, the small circle that you choose to join. So yeah, it's a very important thing for you to find yourself a very productive group, a successful group that really gives you good ideas and that shares with you things that might take you time to get along with life. Yeah. Let's hope I answer your question, Stanley.
Yes, you did. Absolutely, you did. Eddie, would you like to jump in and add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say
Or
that
you can
it's very
perhaps let us know.
yeah. I just wanted to
Carry
say
on,
that
sorry.
yeah, yeah. It's also like Gilbert has said correctly. One, it's a different thing going to someone wanting all the answers, because that person, even if they're successful, they'll feel like now you really want the entire playbook. It's almost like you're exploiting them. But if you go, for example, to a networking event, right, you're gonna meet different people, and a 5 minute conversation might give you one segment, just one component of what you need. He might even give you the best component. And then another 5 minute conversation will give you the next component, and so on and so forth. And not only will you leave with those components, but you also leave with business cards, with contact details, where you can continue the conversation based on those components. And I feel like that definitely does play an important role, especially when it comes to money, because a lot of people don't like talking about money. A lot of people don't like talking about how they make money, how they spend their money. But if if you have a conversation about, for example, the question that's in the chat now, there's a question that says, how do you sell to your friends? Right? That's a question at a networking event that any successful person will want to talk about, to say, well, this is how I do it. I dress a certain way, I cut my hair a certain way, I always wear this watch because it's a conversation starter, you see, and you pick something from that, and so on and so forth. And also, I always say we don't choose our mentors. I have a mentor that I see maybe once every 2 to 3 months. And for some reason, I see him just before I go into something. It just happens that way. So it's not like I'll decide today, oh, Gilbert is my mentor, and that's that. No, but just from the conversation we're having, I'm indirectly being mentored by Gilbert, even by you, Stanley, because you guys are giving me certain things that I'm going to apply just tomorrow. And tomorrow, a young person might come to me and say, "Hey, I want to go get a credit card because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5," and I'll say, "Hey, yes, but careful there, because of what I learned yesterday during the conversation we're having." So I think mentorship is definitely important, but we have to be, is it nimble? We have to be agile, you have to be flexible, you have to be humble. Sometimes someone younger than you will give you good advice. Sometimes a beggar in the streets will give you the best advice you'll ever hear. But if you're not humble
Mm.
enough or agile enough to grasp that, you're going to miss it.
Yeah, I
True,
guess
true.
it is rather, it brings openly, to discuss financial challenges openly with people, your mentors, mentees, community, people that you can have, people you have a support group with, because surely finances, good, bad, will have an impact on your mental health and your well-being as an individual. Especially when it is really bad, you end up with some ideas that come to mind which are not good at times. So I don't know, Gilbert, what strategies do you recommend for coping with mental issues that are associated with finances? Um, any thoughts there?
Yes, yes. The first step is to do an inventory of your finances. You see, a lot of people go through life without taking a moment of introspection to really understand where they stand financially and to chart a direction on where they want to go. They are just they are just living with the masses, and they want to they want to harness group habit of talking bad about the economy, no money. It's so sad that people don't take time to stop for a moment to take inventory of themselves, financially, spiritually, health wise, and relationship wise. They never do that. And I usually encourage people to stop for a moment to really paint a picture of where they are in life financially. That's a good starting point, because once you have a clarity of how much in debt you are or how much you need per month and how much you would want to earn per month, it gives you some form of direction. I feel a lot of stress and depression stems from not knowing really where one stands, except for just acknowledging the fact that things are not moving or they are not going well. I'm a big believer in stopping for a moment, taking inventory of where you stand financially. Who do you owe? How much do you earn? How much would you want to earn? And then at least now you've got direction of how you're going to take care of your debts and how you are going to go about earning the amount of money that you want. Because money is a numbers game. You're going to have to be sure of the amount of money that you would want to earn in a year or in a month or in a week, preferably. Exact figures are what guides you and what guides your action. And those are the first steps that one needs to take to just, pull themselves out of turbulent thoughts that might not produce anything for them and their families.
So we
Thank
have
you
a
for that.
question.
And
We have a number of
carry on, please,
questions
Eddie.
here. Yeah, we have a number of questions. This one is a bit of a long one. It's a two-pronged question on I think on mentorship. So I'm just going to read it slowly. Is there a structured mentorship environment to help make it easy to help lay borrowers experiencing financial difficulties that come about due to such choices of bad company? Sort of like European communities who even impose their underwriting guidelines on those in the African context. Okay.
I don't get the question though.
So
Is there
let
a
me try.
structured mentorship environment? Uh,
Yeah.
is this directed to Earlbat Microfinance having a structured mentorship environment, or society as a whole having a structured mentorship environment?
I think it's in general, like within the African context. Do we have
Mm.
a structured mentorship environment? For example, sometimes when you owe, right, and the company you owe takes you to court, and then the judge says, "All right, I want you to go." While you're figuring out how to repay, I'm ordering you to take a class on financial management. You see, so is there something
All
like
right.
that within the African context? I think that's what the question is posing.
It's unfortunate we don't have those types of privileges, because our primary default setting is on survival, man. And people have got to understand how this world works. You know, this world works in such a way that there is nothing wrong in borrowing. And if you happen to borrow, and then my viewing of borrowing is interest gets you to be more productive and pushes you out of your comfort zone. That's my perspective as a lender. There's nothing wrong with borrowing, and if things don't go according to plan, it's an indication that you just need to do more. And it's just the framing of borrowing in Africa that has gotten people so scared of borrowing and wanting to be lazy, not wanting to do anything about other people's monies. Yet you can be proactive, take that money and use it as fuel to fuel your ideas and to get yourself ahead of the curve.
Yeah,
That's how I see about it. But unfortunately, in Africa, we don't have a situation where people are incubated to
mm,
be taught about money. Yeah, we sort of like all have to learn on the fly as we go.
yeah. I think it's also a thing where we don't, as soon as we leave some kids in high school already understand, well, in more industrialized countries, they already understand what a credit score is, for example, because that's part of American and European culture. And you already know that as soon as you're able to earn some money, you have to start developing good credit, because that is what usually allows for you to even be able to borrow. Because I do agree that that interest rate is what keeps you disciplined. Gets you asking yourself, do I really need to borrow this money? That's one. And once you borrow it, you're already thinking about, okay, I need to cover this interest. I need to figure out how to cover this interest before I can even repay. Because most times when you borrow, you know that in a specific period of time, you will be able to pay what you borrowed back. But what about the interest? What happens there? That's a surplus. And I really wish, I don't know, maybe it's our banks. I don't know, maybe it's our banks that have been set up to keep us only thinking about our pockets and and not really to think more or wider about some of the things that are important, like, should we really borrow? Yeah.
With that said, Eddie, I would like to pose a question to you, Gilbert, about the role of microfinance. Um, How can microfinance institutions assist individuals in becoming financially resilient? And are there any
All
success
right.
stories you have witnessed through your microfinance company, Earlbat Microfinance?
Yes, sir. So my understanding of how money works is financial services has got layers to it. At the top of the food chain is the government. The government is the biggest uh, holder of collateral in your country. Within your borders lies resources that are plenty that needs to be exploited. And to get the government can't be the one going to exploit those resources when it has got a population. In Zimbabwe, we've got a population of now almost approaching 17 million. 17 million. And such with different other African countries. They've got people that they need to put to work. And the best system that was designed on this planet that guarantees that every individual has got a chance to go and exploit their own resources within their own borders, within their own country, so that they can bring them to the market systematically, was to create a financial services industry. Banks, microfinance banks, discount houses, and you name it, stock exchanges, you name microfinance institutions. Microfinance institutions are meant for small little loans, but banks are meant for bigger projects. You get what I'm saying? But the
Yeah,
whole essence of financial services really existing is to really put the population to work. So if you are part of the population and you really mean to work, the quickest way to get to work is to subject yourself to a borrowing situation, is to access funding on your idea and to evaluate it. But I usually, recommend people to start small. There's nothing wrong in thinking big, but there's a progression to the big picture. You have to start small so that you fail small and you learn your business small if it is a business. If it is a project, you learn the ins and outs of the projects with small amounts, not with huge amounts. Start small, but there's nothing wrong with thinking big. So the role of microfinance, in my view, is to enable uh, people or individuals who are willing to participate in an economy to get the chance to go and exercise their dreams and to exercise their skills so that they become more and better. That's the role of microfinance, according to me, as a lender. Do I have success stories of people who have borrowed from Earlbat Microfinance and who have succeeded? Plenty, man. Though there are some people who have failed dismally, and we always try to encourage them to correct their mistakes. But there are plenty of situations because people borrow for so many different reasons. We save people's lives. People come to borrow because of a medical emergency. People come to borrow because they need to make an emergency trip for an operation. You know, so those are some of the phenomenal success stories, uh, coupled with business stories of people who have clenched lucrative deals because we came in right on time to give them the resources that they needed to take them to the next step. Let's hope I answered your question, Stanley.
absolutely. Thank you so much.
Can I add two things?
Please carry on, Eddie.
Yeah, I wanted to, from a borrower's perspective. I think one, a track record is very important. So if you've built a track record of borrowing and repaying on time, naturally, it's easier for a bigger borrower to then say, well, if you've done this well over 5 years, for example, just let us know what you need and we'll make it available to you because you've been pretty much you've been vetted and you've passed. And of course that consequentially builds trust, because now if you want to sign multi-million dollar deals, right, and you have this track record, and the person who borrowed you at a micro level trusts you enough to co-sign you, and the bank that you borrowed from at a bigger level, it's the same. It's a lot easier for you to secure investors, to for due diligence that would take months to take weeks, just because you have that track record. So if you don't start small, and if you don't win at the small things, if you don't do the small things right, it'll be very difficult for you to do the big things. You have a lot of people who will say, I had this $1 million idea, but nobody bought into it. So part of the reason might be that you have no track record. How can we trust someone who doesn't exist? You are coming here with a piece of paper. We checked, we Googled your name, we asked banks, they don't know who you are. So I think that's also very important. It's something we always miss sometimes, because we want to transact all the time and we don't want to build a track record.
Thanks, guys. With that said, are there any questions out there on the different forums that we are streaming on, Eddie? So maybe we can get to attend to those before we wrap up.
Yeah, I think we've tackled most of them. We've tackled all of them. I looked at some of the places where we are not appearing, and no, here there's nothing. Let me check one more. Give me one second. Okay, let me see. No, here there's nothing as well. So no way. Looks like we've answered all the questions.
That's good. Well, I guess there are topics still for discussion as we continue with our bi-monthly conversations on the Lion Hearts of Africa Forum, and we look towards Namibia, where we will be having our annual conference in August. There are still topics for discussion where we will explore how emotions and beliefs about money can affect financial decisions. We need to discuss the importance of financial education and available resources that are out there to give people. Somebody was talking about programs, financial literacy programs, innovative saving tools to explore technologies that facilitate savings and budget tracking. We want to hear stories and share stories amongst men who have turned their financial situations around, the work-life balance, and how to juggle financial responsibilities with our personal lives. As we conclude the Lion Heart of Africa Men's Initiative, I would
We
like
we
to
have
take,
one last entry. The
yeah,
question
no,
just came in.
absolutely.
Yeah. The question says, does the track record only is it only a borrowing track record, or can you have a track record of managing one's own money?
All right. So a borrowing track record, when it comes to microfinancing, we just want to understand if you are a first time borrower, there are systems in place where we do background search. There are people who keep databases for borrowers. So we as lenders access those databases to just do a background search of your borrowing behavior. If you have ever borrowed ever in your entire life. So to answer that question, yes, it's only meant for borrowers, and it works well both sides. For when there's a borrower lender, type of relationship.
Relationship.
In as far as keeping a track record on managing your own money, it more like reflects what type of a person you are. If you have been borrowing and not paying back, there is a high chance that you are not managing your finances right, personally. So I hope I answer his question in a good way.
Yeah, no, definitely. And also, because he was asking again, is it safer to demonstrate the same track record just with borrowing discipline, which you've just stated now, to say that if you're disciplined in your repayments, it's easier for someone to lend you money naturally.
Right.
But if
Right.
someone does their due diligence and they see that you've defaulted here, you've defaulted there, you've borrowed here to repay there, then it becomes a little more difficult for them to make that available to you. Stanley, you also have a question specific to you,
Yeah, shoot,
and
Eddie.
the question is to break down what the program is about. I think the audience member maybe came towards the middle and didn't really catch the introduction that you made.
No, the Lion Hearts of Africa Men's Initiative is to have a supportive platform for men where we can discuss mental health, finances, wellness in different aspects, and personal growth, on sharing experiences from these things and learning from one another. But as I always say, most importantly, as a community, to grow together in the learning of all these experiences that affect men from all different aspects of life. I hope that's fair enough to answer the question posed, Eddie.
Yeah, no, I believe it is.
I would also like to take a moment to reflect, on the invaluable insights we have gained, and knowing that together we have fostered meaningful discussions for men and their health by emphasizing the importance of awareness and prevention of certain things, specifically today with with finances and how we can support in our communities. And a special thank you goes out to Gilbert Guaze of Earlbat Microfinance, Eddie Mihigo for sharing your expertise and experience with us. Your contributions have not only enriched our understanding of financial resilience, but also encouraged us to take meaningful steps um, in achieving in achieving financial resilience across Africa. Your passion, gentlemen, and your dedication are truly admirable. And let us carry forward the knowledge and commitment we have cultivated during this initiative. Together, we can make a significant impact in providing healthier lifestyles. And yeah, I guess that's it from me. And any last words, gentlemen?
Thank you so much, Eddie, for taking your time. Thank you so much, Stanley, for inviting me on this great initiative. I would like to participate more in the next coming ones, if you allow me. I would make time. I've got a passion for helping fellow brothers. Not to say I know it all, but no, just that deep desire to help when there is need. So thanks so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, gentlemen. I've really learned a lot, especially from you, Gilbert. Those were some serious nuggets that you dropped, and I was a bit sad because I was saying some of these things I'm sure you charge for, and for you to really take the time to make them available freely, we really appreciate. We really, really appreciate. So thank you, and thank you, Stanley, for this great
Thank,
initiative. To think that I'm in Botswana right now, and you guys are in Zim. It's really showing that, and some of the questions were coming from Botswana actually. Some of the questions that were posed in the comment section just shows how much we are all going through the same thing, and how much we really need some of this information. Yeah, thank you.
Gilbert, if people would like to get in touch with you and understand how you're going about and learn and maybe have some mentees with you, feel free to share your contacts so people can reach out to you.
All right. So people can get me on my WhatsApp number. That's 0719 518 732. That's Zimbabwean code 263 plus 263 719 518 732. They can get hold of me there. I'm on speed dial just like that. I'm just a text away. I might take time to respond sometimes, but most of the time I'm available to just, to just answer a few questions and to help and to give guidance, whatever works in that particular situation.
Similarly, Eddie, please share your contacts for people that might want to reach out to you and connect.
Yeah, so for me, it's Eddie Mihigo, EDDYMIHIGO on all social media platforms. I'm usually very active, so once I see your comment or your inbox, I will respond promptly. And if you want to know more about Mebala Youth Studios, just go to Mebala Youth Studios. That is MEBALA Youth Studios, again on all social media platforms. We're also very active there, and we also have another page called Know the Ledge BW, where you can see some of the other things that we're doing on the creative side. So yeah, that's it from me. Thank you.
I would like to encourage our audience to also connect with the Lion Hearts of Africa on Facebook and on our LinkedIn pages. Please do connect with us, and I would like to thank you for being part of this important journey today. Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you to our audience.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Good night.
Have a good evening.
Same to you, guy.
So